I've spent a bit of time in the Far East recently, particularly Japan, and it's awesome. But let's be honest, it's only one country in a massive continent. This is my happy place, Hong Kong. And it's up there with the likes of Taiwan for being one of these places that people just overlook. There's loads to see, do, and learn about this city-state, which was once a British colony and is now a special autonomous republic of China, where you can buy all manner of things, including snakes in Mong Kok, chill out in Wan Chai, get the ideal postcard shot in Tsim Sha Sui, eat state frites, and learn a bit more about the things that shaped Hong Kong as a place from buildings of significance, from the Monster Building and the mysteries of the Kowloon walled city. With quick and easy access into the city from the airport, this makes us a decent stopover option en route to the Far East and to Europe. So let's use this video as a chance to stop over in Hong Kong and why you should visit. Let's go. One thing that you should know about Hong Kong, especially from when you arrive, that it's a bit of a vibe. What do I mean by that? I mean, it's dense, it's busy, it can be chill sometimes. There's an aura about this place that excites you but also makes you nervous at the same time. Like a weird addiction of wanting more of it after feeling battered by it all. So let's start with somewhere that's going to challenge your status quo, because why start easy where you can just jump straight into it, loser? So let's start our journey at Mong Kok, which is the shopping capital of Hong Kong. It's a cluster of thousands of shops, outlets, brands, and streets filled with markets ranging from fresh produce, pets, livestock for your pet snake. Yes, I did say that. Yeah, worth knowing that this place does sell exotic animals, and I even know of people who have owned pythons and that have escaped them forever. Anyway, but if you're faced with something like Mong Kok on your immediate arrival into Hong Kong, be prepared for a little bit of a culture shock. Also be prepared to want to go back for more. Also, if you're adventurous enough, you'll be able to find views of the city from within the skyscrapers. Most shops in Mong Kok are within these high-rise buildings, which is kinda shady, but is also a hack for city photography. Ironically, just down the road from the chaos of Mong Kok is the more stately neighbourhood of Tsim Sha Sui, that's easy for me to say, where you have establishments like the Peninsula Hotel, which makes for a pretty photo, and shopping malls like Musea K11, where you're likely to have shops like Cartier and any LVMH brand in there, as well as a Museum of Modern Art design store to aestheticize your home with furnishings from a museum that does not yet exist in Hong Kong. Gotta love that globalization. But really, you should come down here for the view of the river. It's the postcard shot that everyone craves and wants. During the day, it's quieter, but at night, it does get busy with... Yes, even though I believe Hong Kong is underrated compared to Japan and Korea, we know what that's like, they still attract a ton of tourists to these spots. But what you gonna do? You don't know how hard that was to string together. Now, as I ironically promote tourism, other cool spots to check out are places like Wan Chai, which might be a good time to explain why it's a decent place to stay as well as explore. As I mentioned earlier, Hong Kong's a bit of a vibe, and most of its neighbourhoods are unique in their own way. Wan Chai and places on the South Island are more cyberpunk compared to the mainland Hong Kong, if that's what you're after. Other than being known for markets and popular food choices, Wan Chai is really cool and aesthetic in the evenings. There's a big sports complex where you can just sit and people watch. People watching is one of my favourite pastimes. Also, just a 20-minute walk away is the river that we were at earlier, but on the other side. There's some really cool cyberpunk aesthetics down this way, again, if that's what you're into. Wan Chai is really useful for the metro, and it's an ideal place to stay as there's like a lot of tourists nearby, there's a balance of international brands as well as local stalls and shops. I stayed here as well. It's pretty good. If there's anything that you should do in Hong Kong, and you probably should because otherwise you'd be dead, is to eat good local food. Hong Kong's food scene is world renowned, with some places receiving Michelin stars and brilliant write-ups, but we're not here for that. We're here for what locals like and recommend. Some of these places are sometimes where you have to bear the social embarrassment and enter a shop where no one speaks English and only will speak to you in Cantonese. And what you will get is a beautifully succulent plate of pork or goose, skin on, either on rice or with glass noodles. Simply divine. Mong Kok is also a popular place for foodies. In fact, I went on a private food tour of the area and ate in Hong Kong style diners and shops where only families went to. I'd 100% recommend doing that. Unfortunately, some of the best food places in the city are in places where they don't speak to you in English, so go prepared and armoured. However, if you have a baby palate because you're a loser, allow me to show you some European style recommendations that you could do, but only because it's hype. If you want theatre for your dinner, go to Australia Dairy Co. They're known for having amazing steamed milk pudding, which I stupidly didn't get. It's a Hong Kong style diner, but it's a bit notorious for having staff with a bit of attitude. So play the game here. Know what you want and outsmart them, unless they know that game and pressure you to crumble. I'm Scottish, so it didn't really scare me. It's a bit like the Karen diners social media used to blag on about. I was told that the macaroni and ham is not bad, but I thought it was mid. It's definitely worth it for the theatre. And if you're really into knives and forks, go get some steak frites. Hong Kong edition. Vache is a steak frites concept that is based on the French style, and it's really good. Honestly, I'm not a huge red meat eater, but I thought this was pretty good. But I'm more of a French fry person. But even if you want to stick with what you know, you should try breaking out of your comfort zone and try new things. So definitely look up tour guides, especially ones specialising in food. I'll leave a link in the description below to the person that I used, and honestly, she was 10 out of 10. It's one of the best ways to experience authentically Hong Kong. Now, Hong Kong isn't all about finance, pretty apartment blocks, glass-clad buildings. It's got a long history behind it where you can find remnants of its past today. Hong Kong was originally colonised by the British before it was leased to China, which is the current situation. But during British control, there were characteristic anomalies that deemed to be interesting for the Western viewer, but proved to be things that challenged the way of life in Hong Kong. Here's a quick example. Not all flights flew into Hong Kong International as it is today. Prior to this main airport, it was at Kai Tak, which is a unique airport smack bang in the middle of the city. In fact, you had to be a captain to land planes here. And this hill was pivotal to signalling to pilots when to turn whilst on approach. This hill marking still exists today. But planes used to fly over some of the most densely populated cities in the world, which was within a city. And that was called the Kowloon Walled City. Demolished in 1994, the walled city was originally an enclave of China within British-ruled Hong Kong. But later, people started to build and move into the space. They also built on top of other buildings until it became this monstrosity. They even had to stop making it any higher because it would actually affect the Kai Tak flight path. But what makes the Kowloon Walled City quite eerie is that it was an unlawed enclave where the British and the Chinese authorities didn't like policing. So it essentially policed itself and had things like dentists and things like that weren't licensed. It was mental. What remains today is this park, which has a perimeter of the wall that encompassed it. And by the way, it's not big. It's scary to think that over 70,000 people lived in such small quarters with little sunlight and even little direction, because you could get lost in it. There is a museum where one of the main buildings from the walled city was preserved, the Yamen. But be careful of the opening hours. I went quite late at night and it actually shut. Like I said, it's been knocked down, but if you want to experience density like this in today's world, the best alternative is in Quarry Bay, where you will find the Monster Building. The Monster Building doesn't quite hold 70,000 people, it's more like 10,000, but it's still startlingly overwhelming to look at in person, even from the street. But this place became popular when a Portuguese photographer did a shoot here where you could feel its mass. It's stunning and beautiful in a very unique way, but it does attract this. What the are you even doing? This is a pet peeve of mine. Yes, I know Cow About the World moans a lot about tourists and people might be like, well, you're part of the problem. Not when I say this. If you want to visit somewhere like this to feel, then a camera won't be needed, right? But if you want to take photographs, please be respectful and cautious. People live here. In fact, it was built as affordable housing due to an influx of immigrants from China, but I'm unsettled by the amount of YouTubers and influencers that use this place as a pretty Instagram post. I come to places like this to show you how to do it respectfully. That's the point of this channel. It's to travel better and not to be a total twat about it all. If you want to hear me moan about crap like that, watch my Kyoto episode. I go all ham on that. Anyhow, that concludes a very quick stop in Hong Kong. After visiting places like Japan, where we've been on the channel recently, this was a nice way to break up the journey before heading back home. And with that, Cow About the World is moving into a new continent. We'll return back to the Far East soon. We're on a journey to make you all better travellers and explore parts of the world that is overlooked and sometimes misunderstood. But in the case of Hong Kong, it's hardly misunderstood. It's popular, it's amazing. But it did suffer from the COVID pandemic and it's still recovering. But if there's anything that you've seen from this video, then this is your call to visit. or indeed on a stopover. So as usual, hit that subscribe button. Your support means everything. Hit that like button. Follow us on socials for real-time updates. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.